There was a time when the British high street smelled of salt, vinegar, and hot oil. When motorway cafes served fry-ups bigger than steering wheels, and dessert glasses looked like trophies. Today we revisit 20 fast foods that once defined everyday Britain. Some gone completely, others surviving only in distant corners or modern disguises. What they all share is memory. The sound of sizzling fat, the warmth of paper in your hand, and the comfort of a cheap meal that somehow felt like home. Before we begin, think back to your favorite treat, scraps, a brown derby, or an Olympic breakfast, and tell us in the comments which one deserves a comeback. The best stories will be featured in our next episode. 1. Scraps, Britain's humblest treat. In the decades after the war, few things matched the joy of a free handful of scraps, those crispy golden fragments of batter lifted from the bottom of the fryer. Every child knew the routine: ask nicely, wait patiently, and the chippy man would fold a small paper cone and fill it with warmth. For poor families, it was supper. For children, it was treasure. By the 1970s, health inspectors began discouraging the habit, but the practice lingered in northern towns where tradition outweighed rules. Today, a few shops in Yorkshire and Lincolnshire still offer them if you ask, but the nationwide ritual of walking home with vinegar-scented fingers belongs to another era. 2. Curry and chips. Curry sauce on chips never truly disappeared. It evolved. In the 1960s and 70s, it was thick, sweet, and slightly gloopy, served directly on top of fat-cut chips and wrapped in newspaper so that the ink softened with the steam. Bus rides home carried the smell of spice and malt vinegar. Regional surveys from the late 60s found nearly half of Midland's chip shops offering curry as standard. For apprentices and schoolboys with spare coins, it was a meal, not a side. The version sold today, thin, packaged, and politely portioned, lacks the dripping, messy joy that once defined Britain's Friday nights. 3. The Brown Derby. Long before McFlurries, there was the Brown Derby. A ring donut, warm and glazed, topped with a swirl of soft ice cream and a drizzle of chocolate syrup. It appeared in the late 1960s at Britain's earliest burger restaurants, selling for 2 shillings, a price just within reach of pocket money. In Redbooth diners from Nottingham to Brighton, birthdays and first dates ended with the same sight, a brown derby sliding across a plastic tray. The mix of hot dough and cold cream created a memory so strong that people can still taste it decades later. By the early 1990s, it vanished from menus, leaving behind only nostalgia and sticky napkins. 4. The Olympic breakfast. The motorway cafe once felt like the heart of a journey. At Little Chef and similar diners, the Olympic breakfast was legend: bacon, sausage, eggs, beans, mushrooms, tomatoes, and toast piled high on white plates under fluorescent light. It cost more than the local fry-up but fed a family of 4. For lorry drivers and families heading to the seaside, it was tradition, something that turned a motorway stop into an event. By the 2010s, when the last Little Chefs closed their doors, the era of the Olympic breakfast ended too. Its ghost lingers in service station chains, but the smell of fried bread and coffee over tarmac has gone. 5. MCDLT. Introduced in the mid-1980s, the MCDLT separated hot beef from cold lettuce inside a large foam container. Customers were told to assemble it fresh at the table. In theory, it kept everything crisp. In practice, it was bulky, awkward, and environmentally disastrous. British branches trialed it briefly before shelving the idea. Today, it survives mostly through advertisements and collectors' photos, a curiosity from an age when innovation outran practicality. 6. The bender in a bun. Every teenager in the 1970s remembers the grin when ordering one, the bender in a bun. A curled frankfurter, split at the end so it flared open, served with onions and ketchup in a soft roll. It was salty, smoky, cheap, and entirely unpretentious. Factory workers, students, and shoppers all knew it. At 35 pence, it was comfort food for lean times. A few surviving wimpy restaurants still sell it under a new name, but the era when it was a national favorite, lunch break music playing on the jukebox, has quietly passed. 7. Pineapple ring burger. In the early 1970s, Britain fell briefly in love with canned pineapple. Imports soared, and even burgers were crowned with a single grilled ring, sweet syrup dripping onto the patty. It felt adventurous, foreign, and faintly glamorous. Not everyone approved. Some found the taste odd. Others loved the sweetmeat's savory novelty. By the 1990s, the pineapple burger had become a curiosity, replaced by bacon and cheese. Yet for those who tried it, it remains a postcard from an age when anything labeled Hawaiian carried the promise of sunshine. 8. Jubilee pancakes. Created for the Queen's Silver Jubilee in 1977, these pancakes drenched in syrup and ice cream became a permanent menu item at several motorway diners. Families traveling to the coast would pull over just for them. Children watched syrup slide down tall stacks while parents nursed tea in thick mugs. By the 2000s, as roadside dining gave way to fast service franchises, Jubilee pancakes disappeared. The recipe wasn't complex, but the combination of chrome chairs, drizzle on the windows, and plates arriving two-handed made it feel like a small ceremony. 9. Burger King's Mushroom Double Swiss. The 1990s produced its share of heavy hitters, none richer than the Mushroom Double Swiss, twin patties covered in creamy mushroom sauce and melted cheese. It was the office worker's luxury burger, marketed to commuters and late-night travelers. Some adored it, others found it overpowering. Within a few years it vanished, but those who loved it still remember that first bite on a cold evening. The wrapper steaming in their hands, the station lights reflected in the sauce. 10. Knickerbocker Glory. Tall glass tumblers filled with layers of ice cream, fruit, syrup, and whipped cream. For many children of the 1970s, the Knickerbocker Glory was the ultimate proof that Britain could do glamour. Served at Wimpy's, seaside cafes, and department store diners, it was less a dessert and more a spectacle. By the 1990s, the tall glasses had vanished, replaced by disposable cups. The glory faded quietly, leaving only family photos of smiling faces behind glass dishes taller than their hands. 11. Steak and onion pie. During the 1960s and 70s, Wimpy's steak and onion pie was the unsung hero of cold evenings. A thick, peppery filling sealed in pastry and served with chips and gravy. At 1 shilling and sixpence, it was a hearty meal for factory hands coming off shift. By the 1980s, lighter menus and imported fast food trends edged it out. You can still find good pies across Britain, but not the steam-filled plastic tray version that once comforted a nation between shifts. 12. McDonald's Cheddar Melt. In 1988, McDonald's tried a local twist, a burger topped with melted British cheese sauce. The result divided customers. Many found it too rich, others complained it didn't taste like real cheddar at all. Within months, it was gone, one of those experiments that made sense in boardrooms but not in wrappers. Today, collectors of McDonald's memorabilia still trade the posters, but the flavor itself has vanished completely. 13. McPizza. Few remember it now, but in the early 1990s McDonald's introduced small boxed pizzas in several UK towns. They took nearly twice as long as burgers to cook, and the ovens struggled during rush hours. Customers waited, grumbled, and eventually gave up. Within a year, the McPizza vanished, leaving behind only promotional photos and puzzled memories. For many, it remains the strangest thing McDonald's ever attempted on British soil. 14. Syrup sponge with custard. At roadside diners and little chefs, syrup sponge pudding was a family favorite. Hot, soft, and swimming in custard, it was the definition of comfort after hours in the back seat of a car. The flavor itself lives on in pubs and kitchens, but the context is gone. The sound of lorries outside, the smell of petrol mixed with sugar, the moment your parents said you've earned this. Those details made it more than dessert, they made it memory. 15. Banana split. In the 1970s, nothing said celebration quite like the banana split. Served in long glass dishes with scoops of vanilla and chocolate ice cream, drizzled with sauces, nuts, and a cherry, it looked extravagant even when it wasn't. It was the star of seaside menus from Margate to Blackpool. As the 90s arrived, tastes changed, and the split lost its spotlight. Yet for those who grew up with it, The sight of one still sparks the same reaction: a smile, a spoon, and a sudden appetite for summer. 16. Wimpy's Quarter Pounder Supreme. This burger wasn't just another sandwich. It carried a unique peppery seasoning and an onion relish that made it unmistakably British. It stood proudly beside American imports yet felt homegrown. When the recipe changed in the 1990s to match international standards, regulars noticed immediately. Letters to local papers complained that something's missing. Even where the name survived, the original flavor quietly disappeared, taking a small piece of individuality with it. 17. McDonald's Arch Deluxe. Marketed as sophisticated and adult, the Arch Deluxe arrived in Britain in the mid-1990s promising refinement. Advertisements showed businessmen enjoying burgers under soft lighting. The reality was an expensive sandwich that tasted no different from the ordinary. Sales collapsed within months. The burger vanished worldwide, remembered only by those who believed, for a moment, that fast food could wear a tie. 18. Burger King's Rodeo Burger. The Rodeo Burger arrived with flair, a classic beef patty topped with onion rings and barbecue sauce. Teenagers loved it. Schools banned it for the mess it caused. It became the soundtrack to late-night hangouts in city centers. Despite strong first-year sales, it was soon withdrawn, appearing only as a rare limited-time item. For those who remember, it evokes sticky fingers, laughter, and a time when a burger could still feel rebellious. 19. Chicken Whopper. In the mid-1990s, Burger King tried to reinvent fast food for the health-conscious. The Chicken Whopper was flame-grilled, leaner, and marketed as wholesome indulgence. But customers weren't convinced. It felt like a compromise, neither rich nor refreshing. Within a few years, it was quietly discontinued. The lesson was simple: diners wanted honesty, not half measures. A Whopper should feel like a Whopper. 20. Pizza Hut's Salad Bar. Few sights were more exciting to a child than the endless salad bar of the 1980s and 90s. Piles of pasta, grated carrot, crunchy onions, dressing by the ladle. It wasn't health food, it was freedom. Families built towers while waiting for pizzas to arrive. As dining habits changed, self-serve stations were replaced by pre-plated options and smaller sides. The old game of who can build the tallest plate faded away, taking with it one of Britain's simplest restaurant joys. Why they vanished: the shift beneath the counter. Speed overtook theatre. Standardization replaced personality. Foam packaging gave way to environmental caution, and lighter menus pushed out heavy sauces and puddings. Britain's high streets changed too. Local cafes gave way to drive-thrus, and the friendly chippy that knew your name became a chain with digital screens. Yet through it all, the memories stayed, because food isn't only about taste, it's about context, company, and kindness. So many of these dishes may be gone from menus, but never from memory. They remind us of a Britain that knew comfort in the simple things: a paper cone of scraps, a fry-up before a long drive, a dessert shared on a plastic tray. If one of these could return exactly as it was, which would you choose? Tell me in the comments below. Your memories keep these stories alive. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may your chips stay hot and your memories stay golden.